scripted thriller yet.
We have to turn them against each other.
Someone's coming for you.
Who's coming?
Split, rated PG-13.
More on Unbreakable in just a little bit. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the 4 films that make up January 20th, 2017. And, you know, this month has not been a good month so far, but hey, we got a real winner right here. M. Night Shyamalan's latest film, Split, his first one after his career enjoyed a sweet little renaissance thanks to The Visit. And, yeah, this one is pretty good too as well. Split is a supervillain origin story starring James McAvoy, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Betty Buckley, and follows a man with 23 different personalities, played by McAvoy, who kidnaps and imprisons 3 teenage girls in an isolated underground facility. And as I said, man, M. Night Shyamalan is the comeback king at this point. You know, after starting off his career so strong with The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, and then fading out with like stuff like Signs, The Village, Lady in the Water, The Happening, Last Airbender, After Earth, he came back big time with The Visit, which was a surprisingly effective thriller. It featured a lot of good tension and thrills, a lot of surprisingly funny moments, and a lot of what made M. Night Shyamalan such a great filmmaker in the first place. And a lot of that is in Split as well. It's a really damn good movie. James McAvoy is fantastic in this, creating all these unique personalities and really stealing the movie on these various performances he's in. You see, he has a wide range of acting in this movie, and it shows in the various performances he has in this. And, you know, the rest of the cast is really good, too. Anya Taylor-Joy is really good here. Betty Buckley's really good playing the psychiatrist to McAvoy's character. The rest of the cast is really good here. The big thing that kind of took everybody by surprise was the fact that this thing was not marketed as a sequel to any Shyamalan movie, and yet, when the movie comes to a close, you find out this was all a sequel to Unbreakable, because the next movie would be Glass, which would be the film that combines both Split and Unbreakable, with Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson returning from Unbreakable in that movie. We'll touch on that one in about 2 years' time, because that's when that comes out, but, yeah, I thought it was really cool the way they were able to connect it, setting up this long overdue sequel they've been talking about for a number of years, and making me all the more curious to see what they could do with these two worlds colliding. I thought it was really good, and the film overall does a pretty good job of cementing the possible idea that this could exist in the same world as Unbreakable, but not fully confirming it until the very end of the movie. And I gotta give him a lot of credit for going down that route here. Shyamalan deserves a lot of credit, because that's probably one of his best twists ever. The fact that this whole thing was a standalone sequel to Unbreakable the whole time. Like, that's really impressive stuff there. But regardless, Split overall is a really great movie and a return to form for Shyamalan. And if Jason Blum, of all people, can be the one that brings Shyamalan back to the spotlight the way he does and make him a credible filmmaker again, then we could be experiencing M. Night's best years as a filmmaker as a whole here. And I mean, I wouldn't say every movie he's done since this has been a classic overall, but they've been fun movies, even the ones that are so silly and ridiculous, like Old, Knock at the Cabin, and Trap. I mean, they're movies that are not the greatest, but they're fun. They're the fun kind of great overall. They're not like the pretentious garbage, like, you know, the stuff he was doing with Signs, The Village, Lady in the Water, The Happening, all that stuff. No, I mean, M. Night Shyamalan overall is a pretty solid director, and I do look forward to seeing what he does with every movie that he does nowadays. And it mostly started with The Visit, and then especially with Split. It's just kind of like, the guy's back, man. He's back in a big, big way. Someone who's not back in a big, big way is Vin Diesel, retreading an old franchise again because, you know, hey, Fast and Furious is back in full form again. He tried it with Riddick a couple years ago, so surely Triple X, The Return of Xander Cage, will bring Triple X back into the forefront, right?
X takes care of the song.
Triple X, I live for this. PG-13.
Yeah, not so much. I mean, yeah, it's cool to see Ice Cube back as his character from Triple X State of the Union, because that movie was bad, but not because of him. He was trying his best in that movie, and I do like that the film does kind of acknowledge his existence in this particular film, but needless to say, doing a sequel to this 15 years later kind of seems like a really, really bad idea. And how do you make a bad idea even worse? Make it as loud as obnoxious, even more so than the original film was. That's how bad this movie is. Extreme athlete turned government operative Xander Cage, played by Vin Diesel, comes out of self-imposed exile thought to be long dead, and is set on a collision course with deadly alpha warrior Zhang, played by Donnie Yen, and his team in a race to recover a sinister and seemingly unstoppable weapon known as Pandora's Box. Recruiting an all-new group of thrill-seeking cohorts, Xander finds himself enmeshed in a deadly conspiracy that points to collusion at the highest level of world governments. I mean, the tagline alone is your first warning sign. The tagline is, and this is 100% true, kick some ass, get the girl, and try to look dope while you're doing it. This whole franchise, especially this movie, feels like it was written by the Steve Buscemi meme. You know, the hello young people with him dressed up in like these really bad looking kids clothes that people like him think that kids wear these days. But yeah, that's what this whole movie feels like. This film is such a loud, obnoxious movie, even more so than the original Triple X was, because the original Triple X was trying to be the cooler, hip version of James Bond compared to the other James Bond movie that was coming out later that year with Die Another Day, which coincidentally that director of that movie ended up directing State of the Union. But it's not that's not bad enough. What's even worse is that this film is more obnoxious and so loud about it, while also trying to be progressive too. I swear to God, there's parts of this movie where they have characters that were clearly written in because there was one person at the studio was just kind of like, we need more representation of smarter females in this movie, so let's cast Nina Dobrev as a scientist, was she a scientist, or was she a she's a weapons specialist, but no, let's give her glasses, because as we all know, a beautiful girl can't be smart without glasses on. Surprisingly enough, this is not the only Paramount movie to use that theory, because later on in the year we'll have another movie where you have a beautiful looking woman with glasses on to make it seem like she's really smart, like Transformers Last Night. It's essentially who's the chick on a I wouldn't know this because I don't watch Fox News. Gutfeld. He has a co-host on there. Cat something. What's her name? I can't remember it. Cat Timph is her name. Like, you know, you ever see her on there, and it always seems like that it always seems like that show has her on there because they really think she's the smartest person ever, when really she's probably on there because simply of the fact that she's a beautiful looking woman and she has glasses on, so everyone assumes she's smart. I mean, she probably is, but it's hard not to see that stereotype when you see her on that show. But I mean, you get the idea here. For some reason, that was always that's something that they threw in there because in these bad movies, because you know, beautiful women can't be smart if they don't have glasses on. You can't take them seriously. They're just ditzy women. Like, I mean, it's not only that. But just the whole movie in general is just so loud and so obnoxious about itself. Like, it thinks it's the greatest thing ever, but it's really not. It is not a movie that is smart on any level, shape, or form, or fun on a stupid level in general. I mean, it's a movie where you expect so much more from it because they are putting some effort into it by getting at least some people back from the other movies to try to connect it back to the previous film, and it's just to the previous films, and it really just feels lost on itself on so many levels. There's just nothing about the film that feels like it's earnest or is trying to actually do something here. It's just loud, obnoxious noise. Not a good kind of noise either. Like, I mean, granted, it's probably the best of the Triple X movies, but even then, the other Triple X movies are really not that great overall. I mean, none of them are really that strong. I mean, the only other one I kind of liked was State of the Union, but then again, nobody really liked that one. But, yeah, these movies just never did it for me, and this one certainly does not, so that's all I gotta say about that one. Triple X, The Return of Xander Cage. It's a good thing that this was the only film that he returned to, because, yeah, nobody wanted to see this. So let's get back to some good movies. Here's Michael Keaton starring in The Founder, the story about Ray Kroc, the man who turned McDonald's into the franchise that it is today.
Watching performance only in America. The Founder, rated PG-13.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's Michael Keaton being badass. I mean, what more can you ask for here? So as I mentioned, this is the story about Ray Kroc, the man who essentially created the McDonald's fast food chain, and Nick Offerman and John Carroll Lynch star as the real founders, Richard and Maurice McDonald, who kind of started it off as like a small store, and then Ray Kroc saw this opportunity, and he basically turns McDonald's into this gigantic franchise that has become today. And, you know, talk about an example of wasting a potential Oscar contender by dumping in the middle of January. What the hell's wrong with you, Weinstein Company? I thought you were better than this, but then again, as we'll find out later on in the year, you aren't better than this. In fact, the people that run your company are kind of scummy people, especially Harvey Weinstein, but that's a whole other subject altogether. But Overall, yes, this movie really is pretty damn good. I really enjoyed the hell out of it. A lot of it does come from the performances. Ray Kroc, played by Michael Keaton, is this snarky, sadistically jackass person that has his idea to create the McDonald's fast food chain. He makes the role work so well. And again, this should have gotten him an Oscar nomination because it's a really strong performance by him. I like the rest of the cast overall. Nick Offerman and John Carroll Lynch are great as the real founders. Linda Cardellini, B.J. Novak, Patrick Wilson, Laura Dern. Written by Robert D. Siegel, directed by John Hancock of The Blind Side and Saving Mr. Banks. The visual look of the movie is nicely done. The cinematography is great. The editing is very well done. It's a really good movie, man. It was a film that, had I seen it in 2016, I probably would have considered it one of the best films of the year because it's that good of a movie. And yeah, it's a really, really good film. A very underrated film. If you haven't seen this movie, definitely seek out The Founder because it is a really, really damn good movie. It's worth it just for the Michael Keaton performance alone, but the rest of the film itself is such an intriguing storyline about the birth of McDonald's that makes it worth it in the end. I do recommend checking out The Founder. It's definitely a film worth a watch. So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie, and that is The Resurrection of Gavin Stone.
A must-see movie for believers and non-believers. That was rude and selfish, and you guys gave me a second chance. Isn't this why we do what we do? The Resurrection of Gavin Stone, rated PG, in theaters January 20th.
And the WWE is eventually involved in this because Shawn Michaels is one of the stars of the film, along with Brett Dalton from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Angela Johnson, Neil Flynn from Scrubs in the middle, Dee Sweeney. Former child star Gavin Stone is now a washed-up, partied-out man. When he's forced to return home, he pretends to be a Christian so he can portray Jesus in an Easter play being produced by a megachurch. It's directed by Dallas Jenkins, whose most recent film was The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, and he's also worked on The Chosen. He's done a lot of stuff for that. Yeah, I've kind of touched on the fact that I don't usually watch these type of films, so I did see that this one actually got better reviews than other films did, so I actually did take a chance and watched it, and I gotta say, it was much better than I thought it would be. I'm not gonna say it's a classic by any means necessary. I'm not gonna say it's anything that everyone has to see, but it's a movie that I expected less from, but I got a lot more out of just from the way it was presented. I mean, I thought they did a pretty good job overall of making a story that anybody who doesn't buy these movies or watches these movies a lot can relate to. Like, it really is a film that you don't have to be a big fan of these Christian movies to really get behind. It's a film that universally can be pleasing to a lot of people. And I think everybody in here does their job very well here. Sometimes you get a good couple laughs here and there, and you do get some good moments in there. I mean, there is a lot to admire about the film. I'm not going to say, like I said, it's a classic by any means necessary, but it's a movie where I got a lot more out of it than I thought I would. It's actually a kind of a good movie. I would say give it a shot. Even if you're not the big fan of these Christian movies, this is one I would say, like, if you could find it somewhere out there reasonably cheap, definitely check it out. It's actually one that's actually worth at least a one-time watch, so there you go. That's my thoughts on The Resurrection of Gavin Stone. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies. We'll wrap January up on the next episode with the family adventure film, The Dog's Purpose, about a dog who, you know, every time he dies, his spirit goes into the body of another dog, and hijinks and hilarity ensue. There are also heartfelt moments as well, I guess. But we also take a look at Milla Jovovich returning for the final time in Resident Evil, the final chapter, which, of course, it doesn't mean the final chapter. It means the final chapter for these god-awful movies with Jovovich and also her husband, Paul W.S. Anderson, and thank God for that. But we'll also take a look at Gold, a movie that I guess was another Oscar bait movie for the Weinstein Company with Matthew McConaughey in it. And is that it? Yeah, just those three films overall. So we'll take a look at all three of those movies that'll be coming up tomorrow here on the channel, so stay tuned for that. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.